Welcome to another Game Nexus Mame review. Today we're going to be looking at Street Fighter, released in 1987 by Capcom. It was actually August of that year. The game ran on an arcade machine comprised of a 68,000 processor running at 8 MHz, two Z80s for sound along with the YM2151, along with two MSM 5205s running at 384 kilohertz. I mean, we're talking kilohertz here. With these days of gigahertz and everything, that just sounds awfully slow, but that's what ran this game you see in front of you right now. Let's get right into this. Now, before anyone passes any judgment on me, I must admit, I am horrible at this game. I'm not going to play good at all, so you can dispense with your insults telling me how bad I am at Street Fighter 1, which is true. I'm horrible at this game. I'm just bad. I can kind of beat this guy sometimes, but the problem with this game, for me personally, is there's no form of combinations, and most of the fighting seems more or less twitch-based. For the life of me, I can't get the special moves on this game to work more than like 1/10 of the time on this controller, and mind you, I just had Street Fighter Alpha 2 up on the Mame emulator, and I had no problem at all doing a Hadouken or a Hurricane Kick or anything. But back to Street Fighter. The only real console version released when this game was new was the PC Engine TurboGrafx version released in 1988. Then, of course, you had your normal computer versions. You had your ZX Spectrum, your Commodore 64, your Amstrad CPC, Atari ST, Amiga, MS-DOS. They all released in 1980 as well. But as I said, the PC Engine TurboGrafx was the only... Oh wow, actually one. PC Engine was the only actual console release of that time. Of course, in 2006, you had your Capcom Classics Collection Volume 2 on the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, and Capcom Classics Collection Remix on the PlayStation Portable. That was in 2006. And then in 2003, you had your PC CD-ROM Capcom Arcade Hits Volume 1, which contained this game as well. I don't know, I'm going to get so much hate mail. It's like, you can never play Street Fighter 1 again, but honestly, as I had mentioned, I don't like this game. It's just more Twitch-based than anything. The computer tends to back you in the corner and, like, beat on you more than anything. The English voice in this is the most monotone voice you'll ever hear in all of history. Of course, if you haven't noticed already, the main difference with Ryu's appearance as opposed to other Street Fighter games is that he has red hair, whereas in other games he has more of a brown, darker hair. That was a Hurricane Kick, which somehow randomly came out and I wasn't even trying, but in later games, as I said, he has more of a brown hair. One of the only characters in this game other than Sagat that it was actually in any other Street Fighter game is Birdie. He actually shows up in the Street Fighter Alpha series. He looks similar to his style in Street Fighter Alpha, but in here he looks a little bit more human-like, whereas he looked more cartoony in the other games. And they gave him some more personified anime-like features in the Alpha games, just like everybody had. And this guy's just sucker punching me. He looks kind of like Ryu from Ninja Gaiden. I always found that weird. It always says enemy won the round. It doesn't say the name of this guy. And everybody calls me Kiddo. And if you don't put your quarter in and press start, the bomb's gonna blow up and kill everybody. Geki here doesn't care. He just wants the bomb to blow up. I guess for the time, for 1987, the graphics, I'd have to say, are decent. Because I've seen worse looking games from around the same time. Only thing I gotta say is when you jump straight up, it kind of looks like you're floating. It doesn't really look like a jump. Like, notice when you jumped right there, it looked more like a float than a jump. And I might actually beat him if he doesn't just totally own me. Oh wow, I actually won and it wasn't a time bonus or whatever you call it. But yeah, as I was saying, the graphics look good. Music really isn't anything to get excited about. It's just your normal stock-sounding arcade music. Of course, it's not until 1981 that we saw Street Fighter II: The World Warrior that basically put this series on the map and made it a household name. Before playing this on arcade emulators, I actually had no idea what Street Fighter, not Street Fighter II, not Street Fighter Alpha, not Street Fighter EX, not Street Fighter 4, what Street Fighter actually looked like. I'd never actually seen the game because, simply enough, arcades in my area were pretty sad, and from what I could see, this game wasn't really all that prominent in arcades even back then. You saw more of your classics like Dig Dug, Galga, Galaxy, and stuff like that. You saw more in arcades, Space Invaders. You didn't see something like this. But basically, as I had mentioned, this game just feels very Twitch-based. The fighting really isn't that good. In fact, some people are going to be mad at me, but I'd go as far to say as the pirated fighting games on the Nintendo feel a little bit more fluid than this game does. But decent graphics, decent sound. My personal opinion is that the controls are really bad. The punches seem a little bit too quick, and it doesn't seem like you can combo. The AI is often very cheap, and of course your hit detection is never all that forgiving. I've had one time where Birdie just walked up to me, and he just kind of really owned me. He just hit me 3 times and I was dead, and that just didn't seem fair in my opinion. But that's basically Street Fighter 1 in the arcades. And there went another hurricane kick just randomly coming out. One time I was just trying to do a Hadouken. I think I tried 10 times, and I actually got a Hadouken done once, but not when I wanted it done. And Geki just owned me again there. Well, actually it wasn't that bad of an ownage, but hey. And yes, I say ownage, ponage, all that stuff. We're fighting in front of his mountains. But yeah, decent graphics, decent sound. Wouldn't be my pick for a fighting game if I was ever going to play one. In fact, I could really think of a lot of other arcade games that are much better than this. But I would say, personally, if you've never played Street Fighter 1 and you don't have that nostalgic, personal feeling to it, this is more or less just a play for curiosity, more or less. Just because you might be one of those people, just like I was at one point, who was like, what is Street Fighter? Wasn't there a Street Fighter 1? I mean, the most popular one we heard of back in the day was Street Fighter 2. So, I'd say this is more or less worth it for nostalgia or curiosity purposes, but really, I don't really see it being a game that many new gamers today are going to play. So, this has been another Game Nexus Mame review, and I will see you later.